Hi, Elaine here. After the most recent presidential election, I was feeling disheartened with politics at a national level. In an attempt to keep sane, I began reaching into my backyard to talk with people who were not elected into office about how they were working to safekeep our communities. I wanted to talk about politics from the people. Now, with We Have Action, an indivisible group based in Arlington, Virginia, I'm bringing those conversations to you. Today, I'm presenting a chat I had with Paula Finbo, Chief Executive Officer of Aspire After School Learning, on the importance of imagining a better world. This is From the People. Hi, Paula.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for speaking with me today.
Yeah, thanks so much for making the time and inviting me. I think this is such a cool thing you're doing.
I'd just like to start with Aspire. Can you tell me a little bit about the organization and how you came to work there?
Yeah, Aspire is a nonprofit organization that is working to close the educational opportunity gap. So we serve students who unfortunately are on the other side of, systems that keep them from really being able to grow and learn and become all that they aspire to be. And we provide everyday after school and summer programming in literacy, STEM, social emotional learning, also a free hot meal, and just time for kids to be kids. And we do it all at no cost to their families. So, my work is always focused on equity, youth, and justice. In the past, I've worked internationally, nationally, and locally, and I've been able to be part of some really incredible work in the world and in part of really cool communities. But at the same time, I've done this work for over the last 20 years. I've also saw, you know, too many really well-meaning organizations lack the imagination to work differently. And by doing so, function from a fear and scarcity mindset that has only end up hurting those closest to the work and replicating some of the same systems and issues they claim to want to change. So joining Aspire, to me, it felt like an opportunity to work differently. I was really drawn to the deep trust that Aspire had built in the community and with our families, and the way that they truly centered students and parents as partners in the work. And at the time I came here, I really wanted to find a place where I felt values alignment and a chance to bring values-based leadership into a culture that I knew would want it and where I knew it would thrive. And that has brought me here, and it's just been a joy.
What you touched on about doing things different is kind of why I wanted to speak with you. We first connected over the summer, and the narrative, I think, for this fight that we're in on a more political level has been we need to fight against the forces
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
which is important, but I think we lose a lot of sight of what we're fighting for.
Yeah.
And when we talked, I felt like you had this connection to envisioning this better world that we aspire to occupy, something to fight for instead of just against.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you said. A better future that we aspire for. No pun intended with Aspire, is the organization. But I've always believed, and I've actually studied social movements, and the research is there. When we show up for something rather than against something, we win. Because we're operating from a different framework. And I think envisioning a different outcome is critical because the current systems just they're simply not working. Like here at Aspire, we're dedicated to closing the educational opportunity and the imagination gap, and we serve low-income Black and Latinx kiddos, their families, and their communities. And simply put, the systems that they have to move through just weren't designed with them in mind. And for me and at Aspire, is That's why
Yeah.
imagination matters so much. I think for a long time, we collectively have been, we've kept busy with the doing and the fighting in the same way, and it's not working. The world's changing, and if we want different results, we
Yeah.
can't keep operating within the status quo. We have to envision something entirely new to aspire to. And for us, at Aspire and for me personally, operating in this new way means centering equity, dignity, and possibilities. I think there's so many systemic and structural barriers that contribute to the educational opportunity gap and the imagination gap. Everything from the country or the zip code that, we're born or that we live in. It's, our parents' educational level or income level. It's the color of the skin and the language spoken in our homes. But another very real systemic barrier that, we see every day here is that our society collectively shares different expectations and lower expectations about what our lower income Black and Latinx kids are capable of. And that is one of the biggest things that we do differently at Aspire. Our imagination for our students and by extension their families and their communities is limitless. It guides our decisions, and especially during hard times, and we've had a lot of hard times lately.
Yeah.
We, at Aspire believe it's just as important, not just the what we provide, and by the what, I mean, the literacy, the STEM, our SEL programming, but how we provide it. And that means pay equity. It means social justice. It means operating with dignity and a spirit of joy and possibilities and collaboration. Late last spring, Aspire lost 30% of our budget essentially overnight in federal funding cuts. And, we could have scaled back.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, like some people told us we should, they just told us that times were going to be really hard. And we were lucky, if this was all we had to do, but we imagined something different. And within 36 hours, we launched what we called our Rising Together campaign. And people from all over the community responded, even the families that we serve. And we were able to keep our classrooms open through the end of the summer and honored every single commitment we made to our kids and our families. And I think that is what the power of vision wedded with action, can do, but it's also what leading from a place of hope can look like.
You work mostly with kids, and I just wanted to see if you had any thoughts about the importance of centering kids in this imagination of our future.
Yeah, working with kids is honestly, it's one of my North Stars right now because no matter what is happening in the world, they stop to laugh, and I think that just ability to find and reclaim joy right now is an act of, resistance. But working with students, it's honestly probably the most humbling and meaningful and inspiring part of my work. I just see our kids show up every day with resilience and creativity that is awe-inspiring. I mentioned the loss of our funding this spring. And when we were explaining to our students what was happening, one of our students asked, he's like, okay, well, how much money do you need? Because I save $50 and you can have it.
Oh,
Yeah, and over
oh my
this
gosh.
I know, and it was in that moment that honestly, it reshaped where I was like, "Okay, no, like, he's coming to what feels like an insurmountable, like, hole to fill with imagination and possibility." So will join him. We're going to make this work out. And over the summer, our students, they organized a lemonade stand, bake sale, art sale. They sold some of the food and, the fruit or vegetables that they grew in their community garden. And together they raised over $3,000, and
Wow.
it wasn't just for Aspire. It wasn't just so they would have a seat in the classroom. It was so that their classmates and their friends wouldn't lose access to our programming and the place they call their second home. And that just inspires me. And if that's how they're showing up, then that's how I'm going to show up. And I I think our kids are already leaders. They see themselves as leaders because we allow them to imagine themselves as leaders. They see possibilities and they come with questions where many of us as adults, we come with fear and scarcity and absolutes. They don't.
Yes.
And our young people, they remind me every day that it's my responsibility to show up. It's my responsibility to open doors and to remove obstacles and create the condition where their imagination can take root and thrive. And sometimes, that means closing the reading gaps. Sometimes it's about having them feel safe and connected. But regardless of the what, again, it goes back to the how. Whatever it is, it always means showing up and showing them that their dreams matter and we're going to believe in them.
I've mostly hit the points that I wanted to hit, but I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything that you wanted to highlight about your work or Aspire that I haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah, I love that one question about the parallels kind of between Aspire and the need for society to imagine a better world. And I think this work, sometimes when I drive to work and I have the radio on and I am told all of these bad things about the world, I know that I'm still driving to a place of possibility. And I think, within that, like Aspire, for me, it's almost like a microcosm of what's possible when we lead with hope and abundance instead of fear and scarcity. And Aspire's values that we hold really dear and we try to have them reflected in everything we do. These values are growth, connection, equity, excellence, and joy. I think these are the values that our entire world needs right now. There's a really, really beautiful quote by
Yeah.
James Baldwin that says, "The purpose of education is to help young people face the truth of the world and still choose to transform it." We need our young people to imagine and transform the world. But
Yeah.
to do that, we have to be able and willing to imagine it ourselves and also create the conditions for that to happen, even and especially when it's really scary and really big. This past spring, it was just 3 days that after we lost over a third of our budget due to federal funding cuts and funds that had already been obligated to us, we were invited to consider signing on to a federal lawsuit that would challenge these cuts. We were also told at that time that if we did sign on, that we would be the only nonprofit in the state to do so. And we knew that that was going to come with
Yeah.
risks. But also, with the board, we leaned into the values and just thought like if we teach kids, reading and STEM, but we also teach them critical thinking and character and empathy and those things, character and empathy, they're rarely reflected in student testing, but they're the conditions that have the capacity to change our world. And they're also things that are really lacking right now. And I think if we had more character and moral courage and empathy, we wouldn't be seeing what we're seeing right now. So as scary as it was, we decided to sign on to that lawsuit and act with the moral courage because it was what we needed to do to stand alongside our community and our kids and show them that their futures matter and their dreams matter. And we were going to hold their hands and be with them every step of the way. And I just think, right now we're in a world where we can't play it safe anymore. Like we can't operate from the status quo. Our systems are leaving far too many
Yeah.
people behind. And I have so much hope for what a new world can look like because of how I have seen Aspire show up, how I have seen our parents rally around us, our students, the community, our staff, our board. And that just it proves to me like it's my own little scientific test that we don't have to accept broken brokenness and broken structures as inevitable, but we can build something new together, and what we build can look really, really beautiful.
We were talking about this before I hit record, but part of the reason that I wanted to come back to you and have a conversation with you is because before looking around, I had lost a little bit of hope in the political system.
Mhm.
And when I started looking around Arlington, I was finding people who were doing the work. And what you just said about joining in the lawsuit and really showing up for the kids and showing them that you were willing to fight for them, I think that's a lot of what looking around at my community and seeing people showing up has done for me as well. So, applaud you for doing that for the kids.
Oh, thanks. And I think it's so important for all of us to see that there's actually more of us doing this work. We ask our kids when we're teaching curiosity and critical thinking to ask themselves who benefits when you believe a certain way. And I think we can take that our own advice. And I think in particular for women, and I will name specifically, as myself, as a white woman, we've been taught to not talk about politics, that's not what you should be doing, but I think, politics are kids' bellies full. Are they learning? Are they reading? Are they able to not only imagine a future for themselves, but actually pursue it? Those are the kind of politics that we should be, rallying around and being together on right now.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Paula, we've gone over what I wanted to talk about, but if any of our listeners are interested in helping out Aspire or getting involved, is there anything that they can do?
Oh my gosh, yes, I can think of like a million things that people who want to make a difference right now can do. I think one of it is just, helping change the narrative. Like we were just talking about, there's nothing radical about making sure our kids are reading at grade level. There's nothing radical about them having food in their belly and that their families and communities feel safe. So join in that narrative. And while, federal funding might be in limbo right now, there's still enough. So let's also believe in that too. If anyone listening, enjoys or benefits from any amount of privilege, be willing to get a little uncomfortable right now and be brave. Let's use our voice and our safety and our dollars to reflect the kind of world we want to see. I think, on a local level, people can come to Aspire and volunteer and, read with a student or mentor a student. Of course, people can support us financially, whether it's one-time gifts or recurring donations. One of our moms has signed on to become one of our monthly donors and gives us $5 a month because she sees us as a partner. And I would encourage people listening to, consider matching or even doubling her monthly, stand alongside her and help make sure that not only her kid, but all kids in this beautiful, abundant community have every chance to learn and dream and be and change the world. Anyone who wants to learn more should certainly check out Aspire After School Learning. Our website is aspireafterschool.org. You can follow us on social media, reach out to me directly. I'm happy to find a way to welcome you into our work and partner with us. I would just say also, we have a choice. We have a choice to contribute to systems that limit our kids, and we have a choice to create new systems that are worthy of their brilliance. So let's choose the latter.
Absolutely. Well, Paula, thanks so much for talking with me today.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, please subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts to get our upcoming releases. A reminder that early voting has started in Virginia. You can find information to make sure your vote is counted in the episode description. If you would like to join We of Action, you can go to their website at www.wofava.org or follow them on their various social media links, which are also included in the show notes. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Elaine from Related. See you next time.